So we have the brand new War Table event for Marvel's Avengers. What's up everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we have some really exciting news to go over and a ton of new gameplay for the upcoming Kate Bishop DLC or update, whatever you want to call it, but it looks really interesting. I really enjoyed everything that I've seen in it. The only thing that I kinda hate is the release date, but we will talk about all of that in this video. So there's quite a ton of positive stuff that I'm seeing in the upcoming update. This is going to be part of season 1, by the way. Apparently it's going to be a multi-part season starting with Kate Bishop, and it's going to extend a little bit into 2021. So the reason for that is pretty simple. So we will get the Taking Aim operation, which kind of comes attached with Kate Bishop on December 8th. So this is when you can expect the brand new update to drop, and you're gonna be able to play it next month on December 8th, which is kind of like a bummer. I was hoping that it would drop sometimes this week, but given the fact that it seems quite ambitious, and even more so the fact that it sets up future stories, yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense right now. Now, what is the story, you might be asking? Well, here is kind of like the gist of it. So first of all, yes, it is going to heavily feature time travel, and not just that, this will also further tie in with the HAWKEYE update, with Clint's release sometimes in early 2021. So it seems that according to the story, at some point Clint somehow agrees from his own will to work with AIM and kind of like create a time machine, but eventually he does get stuck on the other side. He does get stuck in an alternate future or future timeline, which was kind of already implied because at some point we saw the previous trailers where he kind of passes through this portal. Well, apparently that brings him into a, let's just say, future dystopian version of Earth, where pretty much everything is doom and gloom, and kind of like the world ended and so on and so forth. And if you watched my previous video that I covered about a month ago or so, that ties in with the Future Imperfect series so freaking well. We will talk about that later on in the video, but of course check out the maestro right here, of course, in all of his glory, and this confirms basically the timeline right there. But what we also know is the fact that Hank Pym also gets involved into building the Avengers' own version of the time machine that AIM already built. So we can even see it over there in one of the main bases. Apparently at some point we will also get to use it, because this is going to tie in with the HAWKEYE update later down the line, but I will explain that in just a little bit. Now, as far as the operation itself, this is going to include a series of brand new missions, new zones, new rewards that can only be received during this operation, but most important, we have a first look at the brand new end boss right there, which is none other than the Super Adaptoid. So this was actually data mined a while ago. Now, if you don't know what the Super Adaptoid is, basically this is one of the main villains in the comics, and he has a cosmic origin and is programmed to defeat Captain America by, of course, copying the abilities of the other Avengers, which kind of raises the question, why would he need to copy all of the other powers when probably Thor would have sufficed? But nonetheless, he is eventually going to be the boss that we will be fighting with, and in the game and in the mission that we will fight him in, he is going to have all of the Avengers superpowers. So he uses a replica of the Mjolnir, which is obviously he's going to use the Thor power. There's also a few shots where he kind of uses lightning. He also has a shield, obviously indicating that he has the powers of Captain America, but we can also see other parts in there too, like for example Iron Man is obvious when you look at the armor, and even more so at the face, and it could very well be that every single one of the Avengers is going to be part of the Super Adaptoid. So even Kamala Khan's like oversized abilities could be something that the Super Adaptoid might use. And by the way, check out this fight right here. Of course, this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted new boss, new areas. Apparently there's going to be multiple of these in the new operation, so you can even replay them in the multiplayer co-op, which kind of brings me to the last point about the Super Adaptoid encounter. This is going to be mostly aimed at multiplayer co-op, so if you want to take part in this fight, you're likely going to want to use matchmaking or invite some players over and kind of go in and take on the challenge, similarly to the multiplayer Tachyon Rifts that are also exclusively multiplayer. But let's talk about Kate herself, because she is definitely the star of this update. It looks really amazing, like her combat capabilities, her attacks kit, just looks really flashy, really fun. She seems to be very agile, and I'm just in love with the way she plays, and she also seems to be way more unique than the other characters than I initially anticipated. So to give you the short version of it, she can use both bow and arrow as well as a sword, and she definitely does know how to wield that sword. And the reason you're seeing her using this strange tack over there and the ability to teleport all over the place is because her gear is basically repurposed aim technology, so that is the reason for that. It also looks really awesome. Her intrinsic ability is teleportation. She can teleport to the enemy and deal increased sword damage when you're using her intrinsic ability. As far as the movement goes, it seems to be better than I expected, so she is more than capable of doing double jumps, air dashes, but most important, she can teleport all over the place. It doesn't matter if the obstacle is further away or closer, if it's vertical or horizontal, she seems to be able to deal with all of this really easy, which is kind of like the opposite of Captain America, that kind of has a bit of a hard time to navigate compared to everybody else. But as far as damage abilities, here is where it gets interesting. So one of the first damage abilities we saw was the quantum shift. Basically, you can parry incoming enemy attacks, you do a teleport away, and then immediately strike that enemy from behind, which sounds extremely useful. There's also a quantum pole kind of like ability, so you can shoot an arrow at the enemy's feet that pulls everybody inward so that you can better CC everybody or just deal damage to groups way faster and way easier since they would be condensed. But this brings us of course to her bow skills, and she definitely has a ton of these. The first one would be razor arrows. This is the one that you get by default. So basically you can either fire your arrows in a 3-shot kind of range combo, or if you want to play a little bit more patiently, you can time your attacks to deal some bonus damage with the same arrows. And then we also have the scatter shot, which is kind of like the multiple target version of this. So you will shoot multiple arrows in an horizontal line that hits multiple enemies at the same time if you kind of have groups in front of you. But then we have some more interesting ones and some upgrades. So for example, we have the explosive arrows. I'm kind of low range but high AoE damage, and they also seem great at staggering enemy defenses, which finally I'm happy that we have a proper range ability that does that, and this is going to be amazing against those shield targets as can be seen right here. And there's also a smoke screen arrow kind of thing, so you shoot this down, kind of engulf enemies into a smoke screen, and inside of that smoke screen everybody is going to get increased stagger damage or stun damage, hopefully so that they can get stunned way easier. Now as far as her heroics go, here is what you will have, and here is where it actually gets truly interesting. So her support heroic is called DECOY. We've talked about this when Miller data mined these. So you can spawn a holographic decoy of Kate that does a couple of things. First of all, it's going to shoot arrows into the enemies, but it's also going to distract those enemies at the same time. And then there's also a couple of upgrades for this. So one of them is after image, so you can use this clone, swap places with it, and kinda use it as a means of teleportation or distracting enemies and moving fast onto the battlefield. Sounds really interesting and I kinda like it. And then there's also the self-destruct. You can remotely detonate the decoy from afar to deal extra AoE damage, which kinda looks like this. Now as far as your assault heroic, this is going to be called the warp arrow. So this allows you to teleport over long distances. You shoot your arrow and you teleport wherever it lands. This can also be used to trigger a quantum explosion that lifts enemies up in the air. This is kind of similar to those purple boxes that already exist in the game, but now it's on demand. You can just go shoot this and it's going to lift enemies in the air, making them some really easy targets. The second upgrade that we saw for the warp arrow was something called wormhole. So this is another upgrade for it that basically leaves behind a portal that your allies can use to teleport at your location. So let's just say you use your warp hole to teleport from one place to another. You will also leave behind one of those portals that your teammates can use to get back at you really quickly and really easily. And again, this can be situationally good in combat. Finally, we have the ultimate. It's called Quantum Overdrive, and this provides unlimited intrinsic energy during its duration, but at the same time it also empowers all of your arrow shots to deal high quantum explosive damage, which actually, I'm not gonna lie, does seem to be quite powerful. Now on a final note, we also have some words about the future content. content. Of course, Hawkeye update is going to happen early 2021, unfortunately, since we don't really have enough time in December for that, but this is also going to coincide with a PS5 and Series X free upgrade for the next gen. So everybody who already owns a copy of the game is going to get upgraded to the next gen of consoles, and you're going to be able to play the next gen on the next gen of consoles, which sounds really amazing. In the meantime, you can play the current version of the game on the new gen of consoles, which is going to provide some nice improvements over there for performance. But let's talk about Hawkeye, because he is the one that's more important. So apparently, after the events of the Kate Bishop DLC, we are going to get the Future Imperfect series finally in the game. So this is basically going to be the one from the comics. I think those were like 20 years ago. I might be wrong on this one, but as we've previously mentioned, this is going to feature one of the main villains, which is going to be none other than the Maestro, which is basically like an alternate version of the Hulk, way more powerful, way more dangerous, but more important, way more intelligent and cunning, which is what makes him so dangerous. And we also have a first look of it right here. Looks really awesome, really close to the comics, but I was kind of hoping for his armor set to look a little bit closer to that too. So hopefully this is going to change a little bit once we get over there. But let me know down below what is your opinion. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, also don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a bit.